It's a grenade I tied to a Russian tank shell.
Why not just the grenade?
Grenade blows up like 2 people.
How many people does this blow up?
I don't know. I invented it this morning.
What?
Eat peace, mother.
Greetings, serve this may concern. Christian Aguilar here, back with another series review. And in today's series review, I'm going to be finishing up my review on Season 1 of Peacemaker. Now, I reviewed episodes 1 to 3, because I remember when the show first premiered, they released the first 3 episodes, so I decided to review those 3. I was going to review 4 and 5 as a video, and then I was going to review 6 through 8 as the last video. However, I felt like it would have just been proper to review all of it as a whole, and since the finale has just premiered and it's out on HBO Max now, and I just finished watching it, I think it'd be proper to review it all as one. So here it is, my review for Peacemaker Season 1. So Peacemaker, as I mentioned in the previous video, it picks up right after the events of the Suicide Squad, which is very interesting because the Suicide Squad took that character on a wild ride to the point where I was like, how are they going to continue on with this character in particular? You know, how is Peacemaker going to be our protagonist after kind of being one of the hated characters out of the Suicide Squad? Like, he didn't really leave a good taste in people's mouths, especially when he killed off Rick Flag. Spoiler alert. But the Suicide Squad's been out for some time, and so if you've seen Peacemaker, then you most likely saw the Suicide Squad. So, but to have a character that you left relatively unlikable, to come back and give him a whole show, man, that was a very interesting premise just for this series going into it. And I gotta say, that's something James Gunn knows how to do well. He knows his comic books, man. That's number one. He knows his comic books so well that he decided to choose a character like Peacemaker that has relatively not a lot of comic book history. Like, he has some history, but not as much and as expansive as a lot of other characters. So when you figure out a little bit about him, that's all there is to know. You know, I mainly know of Peacemaker as the original inspiration for the comedian in Watchmen, because Alan Moore wanted to use, I think, like a whole other cast of superheroes that DC gained the rights to around that time. So when they got all these characters, Alan Moore wanted to take these characters and use them in a story that was like, what if superheroes existed in our reality? How altered would our reality be? But they're like, no, the story you're weaving is too dark, and we would like to save these characters for something else in the future. So Alan Moore just took the blueprints of those characters and made his own original characters that we know now to be the Watchmen. And the character of Peacemaker was supposed to be in the comedian spot. So I always found that pretty interesting. So it's really awesome to know that years later, years down the road, we finally get a Peacemaker solo series. Not even just a movie, we get an entire series with him, which Season 2 has already been confirmed. I saw yesterday. So it's really exciting to see where the second season goes off, especially how this first season ended. I want to see where the second season picks up and where they will lead these characters to. What's the big culmination? What's the end game here? You know, that's going to be pretty exciting to see play out in the future. This series, of course, stars John Cena as the main title character. It also stars Danielle Brooks, Freddie Stroma, Jennifer Holland, Steve Agee, Robert Patrick, Annie Chang, Lachlan Monroe, and Shakuti Awuji. So when it comes to the chemistry between all these characters, it works surprisingly well. Our main cast of characters, for the most part, have all clashing personalities. These are all character types that you typically wouldn't see interact with each other. Like, say if this was high school, they would all be a part of their own separate cliques. They wouldn't be intermingling with each other. However, with these different personality types put together in this one little team, it works, man. It's a very interesting dynamic to see play out. We have the meathead jock in Peacemaker, the one that's all action, all fists, all guns, and less talking. We have Adebayo as the more diplomatic personality. She's the one that wants peace among everyone. She wants to like live an easy, simple life. She doesn't want to fall into the same line of work that her mother, Amanda Waller, is in. She doesn't want to work for her mother. She doesn't want to be a hired killer. She doesn't want to work amongst super beings. She just wants to have a peaceful life with her wife. I think she's engaged to be married, so her fiance. She's the one to not rustle any feathers until she's pushed to do so. Freddie Stroma as Vigilante, he's the wild card for sure out of the group. He's the one that doesn't give a flying F, and he's just gonna go in guns blazing and hope for the best. Like, he doesn't care if he comes out dead or alive. He's just gonna go head first to create some chaos, and that is just really fun to see in a character so obviously insane. Like, psychologically, he's not all there, man. He is a pretty intense person, which makes him fun to watch. And it also oddly makes him the character we don't want to see go. If Vigilante's in a position where he looks like he's about to bite the dust, I would be worried, man, because that's how well they had this character resonate with the audience, because he's so fun, because he's just so carefree, you know. And in times like these, times of uncertainty, times of where we got to be very cautious more than ever, it's refreshing to see a character so carefree, you know, and so outgoing and so off their rockers. It's just very fun. Notice how I keep using the word fun. I would describe this show as boatloads of fun. If you are a comic book fan, if you are a superhero fan, you love superhero movies, Peacemaker is the show for you. If you have not seen this show by now, go and watch it, because it is fantastic. If you haven't seen The Suicide Squad, I recommend watching The Suicide Squad so you can get a feel of the characters that you'll be seeing in Peacemaker. All these characters like Hardcore and Economist, they're all in The Suicide Squad, but they have very minor roles. So to see them take the spotlight in this series feels like a nice continuation from The Suicide Squad. And speaking of The Suicide Squad, I was personally really expecting to see a Suicide Squad member pop up. Maybe not Harley Quinn, maybe not Bloodsport, but I was thinking more Ratcatcher 2. I was really hoping for some odd reason Ratcatcher 2 would pop up again. I also really like Danielle McGuire. I really want to see her in more stuff. I think she was really great in The Suicide Squad, and Cleo was my favorite character in that movie. So personally, it would have been really cool to see her come out and kind of help Peacemaker at the end. But that didn't happen. We got a whole other cameo that I was not expecting whatsoever, that actually got spoiled for me on Instagram this morning when I woke up, and before I even watched the episode, I was spoiled by what the cameo was, and I just I just gotta watch it now, because now I know who the cameo is. I gotta watch it. But regardless, when I saw it, it was still a very fun and hilarious cameo. I'm not gonna say who it is, just in case you haven't seen it. So I'll give you that warning right now. Go and see it. It's very fun show. If you're a big DC fan, this is like the DCEU we should have had. It just makes me want to see a cohesive DC universe, you know? It really does, especially if James Gunn is at the helm. James Gunn knows how to do comic book movies, man, for sure. But if you have seen the series, this is the point where I'm going to be saying a lot of spoilers. So if you're still watching and you haven't seen it, scurry along. Thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Support the channel. Very much appreciated. But go and watch Peacemaker. Come back, and here's the rest of my thoughts on all the spoilers that occurred in the remaining half of the season. So, did you see Peacemaker? You good? You good to go on? Awesome. All right, let's get right into it. So when it comes to the cameo, I love how they had the Justice League come out. Not the entire Justice League. Granted, Cyborg and Batman were missing from the lineup. We only had Superman, Aquaman, Flash, and Wonder Woman. However, another sad part of, along with there not being a Cyborg or a Batman, which is understandable because Ray Fisher, the actor that plays Cyborg in the Justice League movie, he had a falling out with Warner Brothers and DC. So they're going to keep his iteration of Cyborg away for some time until somehow, some way he decides to come back, but I don't think that's happening, and I think he's kind of like done with the character and done with this company and this universe, so it makes sense that Cyborg isn't in this lineup anymore if they want to just focus on these characters that we know will have future movies coming up. Same thing with Batman. There's a lot of Batmen, running around right now. We have Ben Affleck's final outing in the Flash movie, and in the exact same movie, we're going to have the long-awaited return of Michael Keaton's Batman, which I guess now is the longest period that an actor has reprised a role, which is pretty crazy. And then we also have Robert Pattinson as Batman in Matt Reeves' movie. So we basically got 3 Batman running around, and we want to know what's going on. So to not have Batman in that lineup it just takes away from the confusion. Like, if they showed Ben Affleck's Batman, then that says, hey, Peacemaker's still stuck in this Zack Snyder's continuity, which they kind of still did, because the Justice League we see is the Justice League from the Snyderverse. But what was also really sad is that the fact that we didn't see Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill as their characters. We just saw them darkened out, like they're in shadow, right? And we just see the outline or the silhouettes of them. They're not properly lit. The only two that are properly lit are Flash and Aquaman, and it was so cool to see Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller reprise their role as Aquaman and Flash to do this hilarious cameo in Peacemaker. And oh my goodness, I mean, I love the fact that Peacemaker is a small scale superhero story, or yeah, superhero. I'll call Peacemaker a superhero. It's a small scale story set in a larger universe. And I always found it hilarious, or the idea of it being hilarious, that the major superhero team was going to come in and save the day, but they were late. That is just top-notch comedy right there, because we're like, oh, we expect like the Avengers to come out, save the day. Like, imagine if the Defenders series on Netflix ended with the Avengers coming out, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're here. You know, it's like. And they were all late, you know? So I think that's something Peacemaker does right, is they know how to mix comedy and drama to the point where one doesn't overpower the other. And so when the Justice League comes, yeah, it's badass, but it's made as a really great joke. Like, it really is. Like, they don't have any impact on the narrative whatsoever. It's just awesome to know that, one, yeah, they actually are out there. They're not just name drops in this season, which they all were thus far. They're not just name drops, they're actually out there. Again, it just toys with my curiosity. Are we going to see more of Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe? Or are we going to see a whole new type of continuity? Maybe like a Crisis on Infinite Earths type scenario happens in the Flash movie, which combines everything. It picks and chooses which characters and which iterations are canon, and they create this whole new universe, cohesive universe, where certain people exist while others don't. Like, maybe we can see Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Robert Pattinson, and Gal Gadot all on the same screen. Maybe Henry Cavill as well, or they could choose to take out Henry Cavill and give us new Batman and new Superman while keeping the rest. Be really weird. But they can do that, you know. I feel like they can do that, or they might just go the route, like they said before, they might just go the route of keeping things separate. So it's very interesting to see where DC is going to go in the future, where all this is going to lead to. I feel like eventually it's going to lead to something where it's going to become cohesive, but who knows? Until now, we had this fun little cameo with the Justice League, which I thought was really funny. I love how Peacemaker's father, Augie Smith, played by Robert Patrick, who was the antagonist in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which I know for a fact that's where I first saw him at. Robert Patrick is great in this season. He plays a really conservative, really racist, really sexist, non-PC character, which again is oddly a breath of fresh air in such a PC culture where everything and everyone is getting canceled for having a voice of their own. This characters like this, and a little bit like Vigilante as well, these wild card characters, the ones that just speak their minds, are ironically a breath of fresh air to watch on screen. It's just very fun to see these guys just like go crazy, like they're amped up to 11, you know, all their ideologies, all their actions. It's just, it creates for great television for sure, and great villains. Like, he is an awesome villain to see him don the White Devil outfit, which is like a masked vigilante that he was back in his day when it came to him being like the top white supremacist leader. They would all bow down to the White Devil, and all the KKK hoods are not just like the typical pointed top. They have like two little points out because they have like an old bag sack over their head, and it creates the two little points so it looks like horns. I think that was a really great and creative twist on the KKK to make it original for this universe, you know, and specifically for this character to have like minions and to have like followers, you know, to have like a specific look. And I like that. It really screams comic book. There's a lot of stuff in this series that just feels like a graphic novel brought to the screen, and that's what I admire a lot about this show. It's colorful yet dark. That's what's awesome, and that's what makes it feel like a graphic novel for sure, because graphic novels, depending on the artist and the story, are colorful yet dark. So it's just awesome to see Peacemaker reflect that, and the Suicide Squad in my opinion as well. And of course the fight between the White Devil, Vigilante, and Peacemaker when he attacks the truck that they're all riding in, That was a pretty badass scene, and to see Vigilante just take him on one, like without like no hesitation, was pretty badass as well. Like Vigilante is fearless. Talk about a person that's fearless. Well, that fearlessness does come from carelessness, so it goes hand in hand. So that's why it makes it really badass to see Vigilante kick it into high gear and kick some ass. It's just really cool to see him take on certain villains. And I do find it hilarious how Vigilante keeps getting injured, or it looks like he's about to get killed, but then he doesn't. It's like he's still alive. Like he just survives everything. He's like a cat with 9 lives. He just keeps surviving. A couple scenes later, the camera pans over and reveals like, oh, he just comes in holding his side like, oh, hey guys, I'm all right. You know, I've been over here for the last couple minutes. I just love that. It's just really, really hilarious. I also really love the character of Clemson Mern in this series. There was a main twist, I think, that happens in episode 4 where they reveal that he is a butterfly, and not only is he a butterfly, but a butterfly that's trying to help our little ragtag group of heroes to take down the major invasion that's happening. And what's happening is that they're trying to get this larger caterpillar-esque creature to feed off of it so they can live for the next 100 years on Earth. Their planet died, and Earth was the closest planet to their inhabitants. But when it comes to the butterfly that's inhabiting Mern, he's against the invasion. He sees his people invading another planet as inhumane, funny enough. Even though they're aliens, they have a lot of morals. And that's something that I love that James Gunn has done. He gives aliens very human emotions. And it goes back to the ending of the Suicide Squad when Starro possesses all the different bodies with the smaller starfish, because like each starfish was an extension of him. The body talking for Starro looked up, I think it was at Bloodsport. He looked up at him and he said, "I was happy just floating amongst the stars." And that line brought Starro, the main antagonist, so down to our level as humans. Like, holy fuck, he was at peace. It was us that discovered him, brought him to our planet to study him. Who's the real monster there? So I like how the aliens in this DC universe that James Gunn is crafting, they have a lot of heart. They have a lot of emotions, mixed ideologies themselves, and it makes them human. It shows us that there are way more intelligent races out there, like us humans. They think, they comprehend just the same as us. And that is really interesting to see in a show like this, which also adds to the fact that this show is a breath of fresh air when it comes to superhero movies and superhero content overall, like TV show or movies. This is a breath of fresh air. And then of course, when the butterflies end up invading the police station and they take over all the bodies as hosts, Detective Sophie Song, played by Annie Chang, gets infected by one of these, and she's the one that ends up telling John Cena's Peacemaker about everything and the rhyme and reason as to why their invasion's happening, which is because they need to inhabit another planet that is similar to theirs, which so happens to be Earth. We have water, we have breathable air, you know, we have green, we have grass, we have a lot of things that they can use and they can live off of. But they just need this food source off of this major caterpillar looking thing, and it kind of reminds me of Mothra a little bit because it looks like a caterpillar. Like when Economist comes running out of the barn, he says they have a caterpillar the size of the Empire State Building. I thought that was like the most accurate description of that because that's what it essentially looks like, and they were like milking that honey substance out of it so they could feed off of that because that's one of their main source of food. And I like how that specific butterfly that infects Detective Song is Goff, the little butterfly that Peacemaker had in a jar. There was a couple of episodes where he kept the little butterfly in a jar to see how it acted, and he kind of became friends with it. You know, he fed it, he talked to it, and then we figure out that it could communicate back when it created the peace sign on the jar. And that, of course, was answered when she described what she wanted. She described to them that the butterflies wanted peace for their people. You know, they didn't want to die off. They like it's just like us with Earth, man. Say if hopefully not, I don't think so, but one day the Earth becomes inhabitable and we have to leave. That's the position the butterflies are in. They're rogue. They have no home anymore. So that's what the whole invasion was for, is for them to have a new home. It's not just because, oh, we want to take over your planet to have more power. No, we want to take over the planet, or not even take over, but just live amongst you guys so we can survive. So I like how she brings up that ultimatum for him. She's like, if you want to be a true peacemaker, you would bring peace to this race. But of course, Peacemaker, knowing how parasitic they are, decides not to go with that. You know, he decides to save the planet. However, He keeps Goff. He keeps the little butterfly back in the jar, back at home. Well, he's not even in the jar anymore. He's roaming free in Peacemaker's trailer, which is pretty cool to see. So now he has like 2 sidekicks, Eagly, and then now he has Goff, which is the little butterfly alien. And so that could be a potential ally in season 2. We could see Goff inhabit different people, and those people could fight alongside Peacemaker, which is pretty cool now that I think about it. You know, going back to Vigilante, I think one of my favorite scenes that Vigilante has is him in the prison, where he gets himself arrested in order to kill Augie in prison, which is Peacemaker's father. He was trying to get close to him so he can take care of him, but that doesn't end up happening, of course. But the whole scene where he's like, he just walks in and sits down at his table and he's just talking loads of shit to everyone there is just really badass and really cool to see, because again, it's like, because all these narrow-minded white supremacists basically get told off right to their faces, you know, and Vigilante's not afraid to do that, and that's what he does. And then when he irks them and they attack him, he fucks them up bad, and it's so badass to see. 100%. Clearly, he is definitely a highlight of the series for sure. And I felt like Judo Master could have been a highlight of the series as well. And Judo Master started off as my favorite character because he was just so interesting. Again, I like those wild card characters, and at first I thought Vigilante was pretty crazy and out there until I saw Judo Master. Saw that this guy was working for the Butterflies, and I'm like, what's this dude's motive? Like what's driving this dude to do what he does? I felt like Judo Master could have been utilized a lot more in this season, but I feel like they are saving him for a season 2, most definitely, because he came in here and there, and every time we see him, he's always eating hot Cheetos. But he comes in here and there, and he creates some chaos, but then they ended up apprehending him, or they end up knocking him out, or you think he's dead, but then he's actually alive still, you know? It's pretty crazy to see his character come in and out like that. And I'm really curious to see if they're going to enhance his role and make it bigger in season 2. The story with Amanda Waller and Adebayo, her daughter, it ends at a very interesting spot, because Adebayo at the end of the season reveals that Peacemaker was innocent. Everything that the public thought he was wrongfully doing was all because Amanda Waller wanted to frame him. She always does all this dirty work, and then she always has to pick someone to point that dirty work towards, to feel like, hey, this was actually their doing, so she can cover hers and Task Force X's ass, because she cannot let anyone know that she exists or her team. But at the end of the season, Adebayo ends up just exposing her. She literally tells the public who Amanda Waller is, what she's been doing with all these metahumans, which are all the superheroes and supervillains in this universe, creating the Suicide Squad, this and this and that. Like, she exposes it all. And that leaves Waller at a state of like, what the fuck? You know, like, she has to deal with the falling out with her daughter and her being exposed, man. That's going to be very interesting to see carry on in season 2 if they do. And of course, it's always cool to see Viola Davis come back and reprise the role as Amanda Waller. I think she does absolutely phenomenal in the role. Like, she makes that role hers, and she just embodies Amanda Waller so perfectly. So I hope in season 2 they give her a bigger role and we get more screen time with Amanda Waller and Adebayo, and that would be pretty cool to see their dynamic continue on in the second season. And speaking of people coming back in season 2, Robert Patrick, yeah, I know, he got shot in the head in the last episode. At the end of episode 7, he gets shot in the head by Peacemaker, which episode 7 is a crazy episode because it has the White Devil, Augie, go up against Vigilante and Peacemaker. And Peacemaker is the one that puts an end to his father. And this isn't just like, oh, great, you know, he's gone and, you know, we don't have to worry about him anymore. Peacemaker still very much has to worry about his father because his father's ghost is tormenting his psyche. He is traumatized by having to take his father's life. It doesn't matter if his father was a shithead white supremacist, right? It's his father, nonetheless. So, of course, that's going to stick with him. And I can't wait to see that dynamic play out as well in season 2. You know, and of course, that's a great way to keep Robert Patrick in the series while also killing him off in this first season. So, I think that would be pretty cool to see how far they can go with that. It kind of reminds me of how Joker haunted the Batman's mind in Batman Arkham Knight. Not my favorite kind of story, you know, for the Batman. Not the greatest story. But I do like how Peacemaker took that idea of, you know, someone that was like almost like a rival. Like that's basically his arch enemy. You know, the White Devil is Peacemaker's arch enemy. But yet he's so close to him because that's his father. You know, so someone like that has that relationship to them. They're the enemy, but yet they're so close to them. And with that person dying, that's like a part of that dynamic that's gone. And so, of course, that's going to stay with him, you know? And that's what they tried doing with Batman and Joker. I didn't think it worked out that well, but I think here it works out perfectly. It works out really well. And it also shows Christopher Smith coming to terms with his humanity. Like, he's growing. Ever since, I think, he killed Rick Flag at the end of Suicide Squad, his character arc has begun. He's not the cold-blooded killer that he once was. He's not the person that will kill every man, woman, and children to get peace anymore. We're going to see him become more sympathetic because these deaths have stuck with him. And especially when it comes to his father, like literally he sees him. So that would be pretty cool to see him turn into, I guess, a full-fledged hero. You know, like he's probably not going to kill at a certain point. He's probably going to be done with killing altogether, you know. And I like how that's something he's battling with. Like, yeah, I'm this badass, ruthless, cold-blooded killer, but deep down inside, I'm still human. And this is taking a toll on me, you know. And I like to see that explored. And I think it will be explored in season 2. But yeah, the visual effects in this series, top-notch. For sure. Eagly does not look fake whatsoever. Eagly looks pretty damn good in this series, and he's a scene stealer, man. He loves taking the spotlight whenever he's in scenes, and it's just fun to see scenes with Eagly and Peacemaker play out. It's always fun and hilarious. So with all that being said, I had hardly little to no issues with this series. The only thing I wish they did more was show more of Judo Master, you know, but I feel like that's definitely a character they're going to continue on with in season 2. So with there being little to no issue with this, I got to give this a solid 4.5 out of 5 Skarsgårds, you know, not full 5 out of 5. It's not like over the top spectacular, you know, but it's definitely a breath of fresh air. It's definitely fun. It's bloody. It's hilarious. It's dramatic. And if you're yearning to see more from certain characters, I'm pretty sure they're going to continue on with them in season 2, since a second season has already been confirmed. So it'll be interesting to see who comes back and who doesn't. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for reading to the end of it. This was a little lengthy one. I apologize, but I wanted to talk about this series, Peacemaker, for the longest of time in kind of like a spoiler-filled session, so I can just lay my thoughts out on it in its full entirety. Like, I wanted to do it episode by episode, but I'm like, no, let me wait for it to finish and then come back to it and revisit it. So Peacemaker season 1, 4 out of 5 Skarsgårds. Have you seen all of season 1? What did you think of it? Let me know down below, and as always, please like, share, and subscribe, support the channel. It is always very much appreciated. I reached 281 at the moment of recording. It's 281 subscribers, so thank you so much for subscribing. Hopefully the algorithm can one day pick up one of my videos and shoot it out there. That would be a nice achievement to reach. So hopefully one day with your support, the channel can one day reach that level. Go over to Tyler's channel, The Rendered Image, a show I co-host with my good friends Tyler and Shannon. We talk about all the latest movie news, updates, and trailers, so go and check that out. It's always a fun show, always a fun time. Link to the channel will be down below in the description. I hope you're all safe and well out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.